Hey, and welcome to another episode of Health Begins with Mom. Today I'm going to show you how to make healthy chocolate chip cookies, and I'm using the recipe from this amazing book by my mentor. Her name is Dorit Palvanov, and she is a registered holistic nutritionist, and she was actually my teacher at the nutrition school. She is a pastry expert, and so this recipe is from her book. Page 126. What you'll need to begin this recipe is to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. 1 cup of butter. Instead of butter, I will use coconut oil, which makes this recipe parve, which means no dairy. You'll need 3/4 of a cup organic sugar, and I'm using this brand. You need 1 egg. 1 organic egg, half a teaspoon of vanilla, white, unbleached, pre-sifted, enriched all-purpose flour. You can use either this, or if you want to go one step further, you can use kamut flour. Also works really great in this recipe. 3/4 of a cup spelt flour. A little bit, half a teaspoon of sea salt, and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. You'll also need pecans for this recipe, 3/4 of a cup. And the best part of this recipe, instead of using, you can actually use semi-sweet chocolate chips for this recipe, or if you really want to go one step further and really make this healthy, you can use raw cacao nibs, and you can get this at the health food store. I love this, and actually cacao is the highest source of antioxidants in the world on this planet, so I really recommend you incorporate this into the recipe. So let's start. It's very simple. All you have to do is blend them all together and then create cookies and bake them, and voila, you have chocolate chip cookies. Let's start. 1 cup of butter is approximately 4 tablespoons of the coconut oil. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you probably know by now that coconut oil has so many health benefits. I actually use it in all of the rooms in the house, in the kitchen and in the shower, and also even in my bedroom. And we'll talk about that some other time. Coconut oil, 3/4 of a cup organic sugar. Actually, what I found from this book, the recipes they come up too sweet for our taste. So I always either cut them in half, or I reduce them a little bit. So in this recipe, I think half a cup will be enough. The next step would be to have a bowl and incorporate all the dry ingredients together, all the flours and the sea salt and the baking powder and the nuts, and then we'll pour the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients, and we'll mix it all together, and that is your dough base for the cookies. So here's my bowl, and I'm adding 1 1/4 cups of the either kamut or white unbleached flour, whole wheat flour. Here I have 3/4 of a cup spelt flour, half a teaspoon of sea salt, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, the one that doesn't contain any aluminum. You can find it at any health food store. 3/4 of a cup pecans, and my pecans are actually not chopped, so what I do is just with my hand I crush them a little bit. And after the pecans, I'm gonna add 1 cup of raw cacao nibs. So if you're using the semi-sweet chocolate chip, use 1 cup. But this one, because it's not very sweet, we don't want these cookies to be very bitter. They are bitter, by the way. Their taste is bitter, but this is the natural chocolate. This is the raw chocolate. This is how it is in nature. Check this out, it's really pretty. So we don't want our cookies to be bitter, so we'll reduce it in half. And if you want to make it a little bit sweeter, we can add 1.5 tablespoons of maple syrup. Adding the maple syrup to the cookies. You don't have to do that. 1.5 tablespoons. All right. I think we're all set. We just have to add the wet ingredients and we're ready to make the cookies. So this is how it looks like after it's all mixed, before the wet ingredients. And now I'm going to be adding this, the egg and the vanilla and the sugar and the coconut oil. Alright, so now we just have to mix it very well. And that is our dough for the cookies. Actually, because we're using spelt flour is a whole flour, and it's very similar to whole wheat flour, and it's a very rough and dry flour. So that is why when we make challah, whole wheat challah, the dough becomes very heavy and not as fluffy and airy as opposed to the white flour. That is why we have to add a little bit more liquid to make it more gooey and sticky and bind very well together. Okay, so now that all of the ingredients are incorporated together, I added 2 tablespoons of water and I really created this gooey cookie dough. I'm gonna create my cookies. So I've lined 2 baking trays with parchment paper and I'm gonna create the cookies. Oh, and also one very, very helpful tip is have a bowl of pure filtered water right beside you. Just makes the creation and the molding of the cookies so much easier. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna take about maybe a tablespoon of the cookie dough and you're gonna mold the cookies. This is how it looks like, how it should look like. And these cookies will expand because we put the baking powder inside the recipe. So make sure you place them on the baking tray, put them about 2 inches apart from one another so they don't stick. And so now you're just gonna you're gonna form the cookies and you'll put them on the baking tray like this. And here you go. My kids love these cookies, especially when I have them in the kitchen helping me. It increases, I just cannot tell you how much it increases the probability of them actually trying the recipe out, because they're so curious. So this recipe yields about 30 to 35 cookies if you make them really small. The recipe book says 40, but I don't know, I guess I make them really big because I've never had 40 cookies before. Alright, so my oven is ready. Perfect timing. So there you have it, 2 trays of the cookies, homemade chocolate chip, healthy chocolate chip cookies, and I'm gonna pop them in the oven, 350 degrees, and I'm gonna bake them for about 25 to 30 minutes. Always check. Some ovens are stronger, some ovens are weaker. You really have to make sure after about 15 minutes, check that they're not getting burned. And the smell of these cookies are so amazing, and it's so easy to make your own homemade cookies. So let's put them in the oven and we'll see them in 20 minutes. chocolate chip cookies are finally ready, and they look delicious and they smell fabulous. I really encourage you to try. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope I inspired you to make your own chocolate chip cookies. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them below this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!